Well, we're here in Philadelphia today, and we're visiting with people that I served with in Vietnam. And I'd like to introduce and welcome Scott Brockway. Scott, thank you so much for coming all this way and spending some time with me today.
Thank you.
Now,
no problem.
Probably just from looking at Scott, you're wondering, if he served in Vietnam. Well, he was just a baby, I think, when we were in Vietnam. But his dad was with me, Randy Brockway, and Randy got there a little bit before I did, and spent, I'm going to guess, 10 months.
Actually, probably closer to 11. I
Yeah,
think he was
short.
very short at the time.
And when we got overrun at Diamond Fire Support Base, Randy lost his life that night during that battle. And of course, because he'd been with us for so long, he was one of the key players in the platoon and in the unit. And when anybody got killed, I think I've shared this with you before, it affected everybody that was close to him or everybody that knew him. So I brought that home with me, and I carried that with me all those years, and of course I never spoke about it and so forth. And then we started doing reunions. I planned one for 2004, and I'm going down the list, and of course I was going to do the honor roll and all that stuff, and I looked at all the names. And then tell me how you got involved with us.
Well, I had gone onto the Vietnam Memorial Wall website, and I had posted I don't know if you would call it a eulogy or a memory to my father, just thanking him for his service, and I respected him. So I guess, unbeknownst to me, you had run across that.
Oh yes, I used to check those on a regular basis because I wanted to find family.
Yes,
if I could.
So obviously, Big John found out I was there and around, and one day I was sitting at home and I got a phone call, and not knowing it was Big John at the time, but is this Scott Brockway? And I said, oh, another sales call, So I said yes, and he says, well, this is John Quintrell. I served in Vietnam with your father. And I was like, from what I recall, I was silent for a second,
yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay. So, and I had always hoped that at some point that I could get in contact with the men he served with.
Anybody that knew him.
That he served with, and I guess my prayers were answered. I think that was probably 2003 though, because it was because that was before the reunion,
mm-hmm.
and we talked for quite a while, and about, because I really didn't know, other than the Army's report. I had seen that of what had happened,
which was little and nothing.
Yeah, and talked to you, and you explained to me about that night and what had happened, and it was quite an eye-opening, somber experience, but it was also enlightening for me, and kind of put some things to rest for me.
Well, and especially I think when a young man has grown up without a dad. In other words, you knew you had a dad,
yes.
But how old were you when he went to Vietnam?
I had to only been 2.
Yeah. So you grew up, you knew you had a dad, didn't know your dad.
Right.
And I think inherently, within each of us, we have this desire, to know where we came from or to know who.
Most definitely.
And so you went all those years without.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I always knew about it from as long as I could remember. I knew it. It was no secret that what had happened in Vietnam, but I always, like you said, just wanted to know. But when I was younger, it didn't affect me as much. So when I got into more in adulthood, that's when, yes, I really, was like, well, what was he like? Well, because really I hadn't been in contact with his side of the family either because of divorce and stuff like that.
Well, what did your mom tell you about your dad? Did she ever speak of him, or?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it was.
How long had they been going together?
They weren't married that long. They were just kids, real young when they got married. I'm trying.
Your dad was probably sowing his wild oats.
Probably.
That'll come up later. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
Probably. Yeah, from what I found out
That's what I'm
over the
saying.
years.
We'll come back to
Okay. So, where was I? So anyway, yeah, no, my mother was. I mean, she was remarried at the time. So, but I always knew what the situation was, and it's ironic that when I was younger, it was so close. Now it's 50 years
Yes.
gone by, and it's hard to believe. Almost for me, it was almost mythic. He was almost like a mythical figure
Of course.
because you can't touch him. You can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than so.
And unfortunately for you, you hadn't heard anything about his service in Vietnam.
No.
You had no idea
No.
whether he performed well, whether he ran at the first sight of a booby. I mean,
Yeah.
and those are all things that fall into a man's career in the Army, right? And as your dad, you wanted to probably know, was he brave or, I mean, even though you maybe didn't say that,
Yeah.
every kid wants to know, would I look up to my dad?
Sure.
Would I be proud of my dad? And
Right.
stuff like that. And I think those are some of the things that you yearn for the older you got.
No doubt about
Yeah.
that. No doubt.
So, when did I tell you that we were going to have a reunion?
I think we had talked a couple of times after,
Mhm.
and then I don't remember. I don't think it was right then that first time, but it was shortly after that.
think
you
I
said
did-
you called me
Planning.
on planning a
Yep.
get together, with as many of the Wolfhound guys as you could find that could make it, and would I want to go, and obviously, of course.
But that's not what you told me first. The first thing you said is, why would you invite me? I'm not a Wolfhound. Do you remember that? I mean,
Well, I've always
that was your first
Well,
reaction.
that's what I said to you when you wanted to interview me, too. So it's still kind of a. I love all you guys so much, and I just guess for me, I need to maintain. And I love that you brought me into your family. So
Oh,
don't
yes.
get me wrong, but it's. I don't know. It's almost like I need to maintain a little bit of distance in some aspect.
And so,
Because you guys have your thing, and I totally understand that, and I don't ever want to detract.
well, and you, I think
from-
in your heart
from-
of hearts, that would never happen. But
Yeah,
I'm going to remind you
it's
of
always-
something.
go ahead.
I'm going to remind you of something else I said in our very first conversation. Because I did say, I want you to meet with us and so forth. And then you said, well, I don't know why and so forth. And I said, you got to understand something. If you come, it won't just be for you. You'll be coming for us. And I said, we have never had closure. The guys that were there, it's always been a blank spot in our heart. And I told you, I said, if you come, your dad comes. If you're there, you'll be your dad back with us. And do you feel like we have held on to you like that?
Oh, most definitely.
you know?
I mean, it was one of the best experiences, and continually it always is.
Tell me about the first reunion.
Well, I remember walking in, and I remember, I'll get back to this, but I remember walking in, and Smokes and Moose were the first two guys I met, and I told them who I was, and I had seen Smokes before this. I ran into him coming home from Iowa one time. I stopped at his house. And anyway, so, I get two of the great biggest hugs from these two these two great guys that you can imagine. And felt welcome instantly and knew it was going to be a hell of a journey, so to speak.
Yep. And it was our first time. Everybody that was in that room, nobody had a clue where this was going to go.
Right.
So then how did it proceed? I mean, did you, as the guys were introducing themselves, and as you'll recall, it was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
And so forth. What was your thought at that point?
I think that I was a little overwhelmed that pure strangers, I guess I would call them at that point,
Yep.
could be so accommodating and welcoming and loving.
Yep.
So it was very emotional. It still is, obviously. And I've learned so much over the years. I mean, really, 15 years ago was the first. And
Yeah.
learned so much, made so many great friends, heard so many good stories,
Mhm.
some bad ones. But most of all, I think for me, I always know, no matter where I'm at in my life, my emotional state, if I need to talk to somebody, because I've called you many times.
Yes.
I've talked to Nace. I've talked to Big Joe many times. And it's something that wouldn't be possible
Yeah.
had you not found me.
Yep. What was your reaction because I'm assuming you're sitting here and you're sitting alone, right? Did you bring Gina?
No, yeah, Gina was.
Okay, so but as an individual, these are all the soldiers, if you will, and you're here.
Yeah.
So what was your reaction when I called you forward?
Once again, it's kind of like it always is for me. I'm like, I don't know. I don't generally like the spotlight. Maybe when I'm goofing around or something. Yeah, that's
Sure,
know,
sure.
I get to kind of take a page out of the Wascom's book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was taken aback a little bit. I was wondering, where this was going and stuff like that. And because I'm not very good behind the camera either, and we were videoing then,
Oh,
I think,
yes.
and everybody, people were taking pictures. So,
Do you remember what I said?
you're not supposed to ask me those questions because I actually don't remember exactly what you said. It was probably that. I mean, that you were so happy to have me.
Talked about your dad.
Talked about my dad, and
And then a special thing happened.
yeah, you're talking about the certificate. Yeah, you had said that you had mentioned it to all the other vets who were present, and that they all agreed. And you wanted to make me an honorary Wolfhound? And it's pretty much just like I am now. It's not sad.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's a joyous, overcome with joy and thought and genuflection.
And you know, on our part, we got your dad back.
And I think I feel the same way. I got some of him back too,
Yep.
that I, never knew, or I felt different inside,
And
in
so,
my heart.
And so after that part, then what was the rest of the reunion like? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, we went on several bus trips. We went to, I forget the guy's name, the bus driver, but
Yeah.
he was a crazy guy.
You're walking on thin ice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dash right.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to the tomb, I believe, right? We went to Too Many Unknown Soldiers.
Oh,
didn't
we went to all of them.
Kennedy's grave. We went out to dinner several nights with everybody.
Yeah.
I still got pictures of that, and we just all got kind of to know each other, and each one of the vets and my wife at the time got to talk somewhat with most everybody. I'm pretty sure just about everybody there. It wasn't as big a group.
Oh, no, of course.
as it is now. So a lot of times now you don't get as much of one-on-one time
Right.
as you would like with people. But I have that picture on my wall at home where we took by the I think we were in front of the Korean Memorial at the time.
Okay.
Where the copper statues of
Oh,
the
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
We had probably just left the Vietnam, but I still have that picture on the wall, and I have, it says 2004 Wolfhound reunion,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the front, and with Jimmy. I remember it. It was a great time, and eye-opening time.
And so, towards the end of the reunion, I think I wanted to see a raise of hand of how many guys that thought it might be a good idea to have another reunion. And of course, every single hand flew up immediately.
Right.
And then we decided that we would have one every other year.
Yes.
And I promised everybody I'd find as many more guys as I could. And
And you found a lot more.
And what were you sitting there thinking, oh, I'll come back?
Oh, sure.
Or I was going to say, or were you going,
No,
You-
never, no.
we had you hooked?
Oh, for sure. No, there was never a thought. I missed one, maybe or two, maybe because of work stuff. But
Sure.
it's very important to me.
Yeah. And then we incorporated a fishing trip
Yes.
into the odd years that we didn't
Yes.
have a reunion. Tell me what you thought about the fishing trips.
Well, the first year, the first fishing trip, I drove all the way from Pennsylvania to Minnesota by myself.
Grand Rapids up
Yeah.
there.
And so we met, and actually Nace was my bunkmate.
And we tormented him to death.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing was, I'm the young snot nose, and she's like, "No, Scott, I'll take the upper bunk." I'm like, "No, Nace, you can't."
Oh, I know. I remember that.
Every night. So he made no. You sleep down in the bottom bunk. Every night he's getting up in the upper bunk. I'm like, Nace, please let me get sleeping. He's like, no, stop, I'm good. So it was like, how can I let this poor guy do this the whole time? And then finally, I think we did that 2 nights because there was a mix-up or something
Right.
with the accommodations that first night or 2 nights, whatever it was. But then we did get into a more comfortable position.
Sure.
Or a more comfortable room, and Nace wasn't so beat up trying to
Sure.
get in and out of his rack.
And of course, those fishing trips brought an entirely different dimension.
Oh,
to-
yeah.
To the relationship with the guys.
Yeah,
And-
it was a more personal experience. certainly for all you guys. I think you were a lot more willing to share some more explicit situations and details maybe than you might have when we're around all the women and kids and stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah.
So, hey, another eye-opening for me.
Do you remember the campfire?
Oh, sure.
That was, and see, all of those things that happened weren't planned.
No, that's probably the best way.
I've always thought that.
Right.
I've always thought, that's why you can have an agenda, but it's what happens between the agenda that always works out.
The crazy stuff.
That works out the best. What were you doing for a living at that time?
I was working for the telephone company.
Okay.
Verizon.
And I'm going to back you up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At what time in your life did you meet Gina? How
Well,
old were you?
19.
Did you know her in high school?
I met Gina in the United States Navy. We were both in the Navy. Yeah.
What was she doing?
Ironically, we were both studying to be torpedomen's mates.
Now I did not know that.
You did not know that?
So let's back up a little bit more.
Okay.
Did you join, or did you get drafted, or what was the
Oh, no, there was no draft.
So how
I did have
you...
to fill out my selective service card, though. I remember when I turned 18.
Yep.
But, yeah, no, there was no draft. I graduated from high school in, summer of 84, and kind of, at the time, thought, I don't want to go to college. I've had it with school.
Sure. You just burned out, probably, like I had.
And it's like, my mother had a job, she's like, well, you're not just going to sit around here, you're either going to go to college or you're going to go in the military. And I was like,
Oh, God.
well, my stepfather was in the Navy, so I'm like, I always, was partial for that for some
Did you have a
reason.
good relationship with him?
Oh, most definitely.
So he was a good dad?
Yes.
Good.
To this day.
That's awesome.
I talked to him just the other day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no,
That's great.
he's, and I've said this, I don't know if I said it to you, but never did I ever feel like I wasn't his son.
Of course. Yeah, you did.
So-
you told me that early
Yeah.
on, yeah.
That, and we have a very close relationship to this day.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, I go, I talk to him fairly often. I visit him fairly often.
That's great.
And, which was good when he lived at the Lake of the Ozark, because I killed two birds with one stone
There
with the
you-
reunions.
There
but
you go.
He moved out of there, and we moved out of there for the time being.
Sure.
And so it's no big deal.
So you decided, why the Navy?
He was in the Navy.
Okay. So,
My mother remarried, and he was in the Navy. So, I didn't remember Randy. So I remember him from as long as I can remember.
Of course.
And he was in the Navy.
So did he encourage you?
Yeah, he didn't discourage me.
Okay.
I would say,
So where did you sign up at?
I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time.
Did you go to San Diego for basic?
No. Great Lakes.
Great,
in January and February.
There was only two choices I had.
Well, there were actually when I was in there was a lot. Gina went to Orlando.
Oh, really?
Yeah, women at the time could go to Orlando or San Diego, the two warm places.
Yes, of course.
So we froze our butts off.
When you joined, did you say, I'm joining because I want to be a...
I went
Or,
in,
I mean, how did you come to your MOS, or how did you come
I
to...
went to, the recruiting office, and you go and take a test, a ASVAB test,
Oh, yeah.
aptitude battery test. So you take that test, and I basically told them I wanted to join. And when I got out of the ASVAB, or took the test, you go in and see a advisor, I guess. And he says, how'd you like to be on submarine? And I'm like, I'm not weird with confined spaces or anything.
And they probably would have figured they wouldn't let you go if you
Right.
were. They probably have a way to figure that out.
You go through several interviews and stuff to make sure you're not a lunatic before they let you even go to submarine school.
That's funny. And I know why. No, I mean, I know exactly why they do that.
Yeah. No, yeah, but they don't want you.
confined space
Yeah.
underwater
Yeah, right.
for a long
You
time.
can't just jump off the railing of the ship. You just know where. So, and then he's like, "Well, how about a torpedoman on a submarine?" I'm like, I guess that's good. I'm a mechanically inclined person,
Sure.
so working on stuff like that. And it turned out to be really good. So I went to boot camp, got out of boot camp in end of February, around the 1st of March in '85. I went to submarine school in Groton, Connecticut.
What was that like? Did they have a mock-up of a sub there, so you'd at
Well,
least...
yeah, the subs land right there too. Yeah,
Oh,
but there's all
so-
kinds of
oh,
it's a
it's
submarine base.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you can still go there. The Nautilus is stationed there, the first nuclear sub. And so that was 6 weeks of submarine school.
Did that have anything to do with being a torpedo man, or was this the
No.
basics of military,
It was kind of the base,
like basic training?
Give you an overall, like, general indoctrination on submarines. You had to learn, like, the air systems, plumbing and drain systems.
Well, I'm sure it's a complicated
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, you need to learn a little bit about the nuclear reactor, the propulsion systems,
But
all
did you
that.
have basic training?
Basic training was before that.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
I'm
basic
sorry.
training.
Yeah. I got sick as a dog. Everybody seemed to get sick when they're there. You know, one guy gets sick, the whole
Oh,
base
yeah.
is just sick.
And
But-
so, do you remember when they had you jump in a swimming pool and take your pants off and make water wings out of them?
yes, yes.
'Cause
You tie your dungarees in a knot, and you put them behind your head, and you throw them over to catch air. Yeah,
And it works.
it works.
I remember that. I didn't do it, but I had buddies that were in the Navy.
Yeah, we
and
did
they,
that.
And they always talked about that.
Yeah. And that's what you were supposed to do if you didn't have a life jacket, I guess.
And I'm assuming that they taught you what every button or everything, there's a meaning for every single thing on a sailor suit.
You mean like
there-
the ribbons?
and tradition and why why are the pants bell bottom?
Yeah.
But
You should have scripted this part.
you know what I'm saying though. But there's a reason, and this thing here,
The 13 buttons.
I mean, there's a reason. So you learned
Of
about
course,
that.
I've been out of the Navy over 30 years.
but that's part of what basic was, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, they taught us. I mean,
Any
I don't-
basic first aid?
Oh, yeah.
So kind of like what we
We
did.
get shots in our ass. I think I fainted when you go through and they had those like electric shock.
Yeah, you were getting 23 out of each barrel.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, it'll feel so good. But it was quite an experience. I was running, then you had to do, we had like games against the other companies at the end. So I ran on the track. It was a nightmare.
And now you go to sub school.
Yes, after basic.
Okay, so sub school, where did they start with that?
You have to pass that before you can be, because if you didn't
So
pass
you're
sub school, there'd be no reason to go to torpedoman school.
But
Really.
they're going to cut out if you're not going to be.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they know how to go through and
Yeah.
that you're not fit for this, or you're a good.
Yeah,
fit,
there
or-
were interviews. Are you afraid of this, afraid of that? Have you ever had thoughts of killing yourself? Stuff like that. Or killing anybody.
Yep.
Actually, even before, they did background checks. On me. Police checks and stuff like that. I actually found out I had a ticket I had to pay before I went in.
A parking ticket or something
I was
like
like,
that? Speeding ticket?
Probably a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
I was only 18.
I'm
19.
assuming that if you were a submariner, you had to have some clearances.
Yeah, I had a top secret clearance.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I remember when I made E6,
Yeah.
I was marched down and I had to fill out all this paperwork, who was my neighbor, who did I work. I mean, they you know what, they actually go talk to all of them.
Right.
I mean,
Pretty much almost everybody on the sub had a top secret clearance. I worked in the weapons department anyway, so,
yep.
I knew, when we were loading certain types of weapons and that.
Did they tell you not
Can't
to?
really tell
did
you
they
any more
not
than
to-
that.
No, did they tell you not to take pictures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you couldn't take any pictures back in the engine room.
Okay. And then,
Up front, we could take pictures. but they didn't want anything back in the engine room where, you know.
When you went to sub school, was that basic all around sub, or were you now in your MOS?
No, it was a very broad view.
Okay, so
of the
you
whole-
learned from stem to stern.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, then when did you go into being a torpedoman?
That's, so I got down to Orlando, Florida in late April. I had leave after sub school. I went home for like a week. And then I went down to Orlando, Florida, and I had to go through basic electricity and electronics school. So I had to pass that next before I got to my torpedoman.
Mm-hmm. And
You
you
call
met,
MOS in the Army.
You mentioned earlier you met Gina there.
Yeah, actually.
Actually, I didn't know women were on subs.
No, Gina worked at a shore facility at the maintenance shop.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
Mark 48 torpedo shop. I saw her one time. She was in electronics school and I was in electronics school.
So that's where the real first
It's
connection.
not where we started dating, but I had seen her and I was like, oh, I'd like to meet her.
Yeah.
You know?
What was her motivation for going in the Navy? Do you recall? To meet guys? No, I'm just kidding. Gina, I didn't mean that.
I don't know. She had been an X-ray technician for a while, and then I guess I don't know. She got tired and bored with it.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad was a Marine.
And did she served?
Yeah.
When you joined, was there a certain number of years commitment?
Yeah, it was 4 years.
And is that what you did?
Yes.
You didn't extend after that?
No.
And how about Gina? Did
Well,
she do her
Gina, because in the interim we met, we got married, and she had children.
So you were married in the Navy while you were in the
Yes.
Navy? Okay.
Yep, I got married while we were in the Navy. Both my children were born while we were in the Navy, and but what happened with Gina was she requested an early out, and they granted it to her, and you know, because of the children and situation and stuff, and she was working around explosives and stuff, like, you know, so.
Yeah, she was right in the torpedo
so she-
manufacturing place, I guess.
Yeah, so she requested to get out, and they let her out, and then she ironically got a job at a hospital doing X-ray work again.
Oh,
So.
I'll be darned. That's good. So when you're going to learn on the submarine, do they take you out? Do you go out and run this thing around and go underwater and?
I think in a normal situation you would, but what happened with me was when I did graduate from torpedoman school, like I was top in my class, so I got to choose my orders where I wanted to go. So I chose what they called a pre-commissioning unit at the time. My submarine was still, being built in the Newport News shipyard. So I chose the pre-commissioning unit. I got down there. I literally got to watch the submarine be put together.
Wow.
So it was really, really neat.
What was your job?
At that point?
Yeah.
You were doing a lot of qualifications at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I would, you would go down to the ship every day. I mean, we had an office space where everything was, but you were required to, you know, start your qualifications for submarines. I don't know if you've ever seen, but submariners that are qualified have these silver, if you're an enlisted man, or a gold, they're called dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So you start that qualification process pretty much when you get there.
Okay.
And you're
And
doing a lot of studying.
so, did you see it finished? I mean, did you
Yeah.
see? And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
then you were on that?
So I got there in November of '85, right after, like 2 weeks after Gina and I got married. Not even, maybe a week or so. And we didn't get commissioned until September of '87.
But you probably had to test it out.
Oh yeah, we went on, yeah. We'd go out and something would break, we'd have to come back into the shipyard, they fix it.
Was it weird the very first time you heard the hatch close and you knew you were underwater? Does it sound different or does it feel different?
No, never bothered me.
Yep.
No, that never bothered me. I mean, it feels like you're in a jumbo jet when you're under the ocean. Is what it feels like. If you
okay.
think about it, you know, your turns are fairly gradual,
Yeah.
unless the captain wants to mess around,
Sure.
which he would do on occasion.
And what class submarine was
It was
this?
a 688 Los Angeles class submarine.
Which meant, nuclear or
Yeah,
not?
all nuclear, yeah.
Oh, so the engines are nuke-driven,
We had- we had-
powered or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, there's one nuclear reactor, yeah,
Yep, so
that controls,
at the
turbine
time, that was
generators
probably one of the smartest subs they had built, as far as technology.
oh
and-
yeah, we were actually a VLS boat, a vertical launch boat. We had capability to hold 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Also, in front of we call it the sail in the Navy. People would call it a conning tower.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So in front of that, there were 12 vertical launch tubes on that submarine as well. So yeah, we had to become experts and know every in
Were
and out.
those nuclear?
Were what nuclear?
Those 12?
They have the capability of being.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Tomahawk cruise missiles can be
Yeah,
nuclear.
yeah. So that's why even today they say submarines are going to make the difference.
So aside,
I mean, if it ever gets going, subs are what's going to make the difference.
yeah, well, run silent, run deep. That was our motto
Yeah,
at the
yep.
time.
So you got through that, and you enjoyed it, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah,
When your 4 years came up, was there any thought at all of staying in?
no, Gina was out, and you know, it's hard to be the captain of the ship if you're
No, no, for
with
sure.
two guys.
So you got out, what did you do right off the bat?
We moved to New Jersey, where Gina was from at the time, and with 2 kids, we moved in with her parents for a while. I got a job with UPS, I remember, fairly quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and working like midnights. It was terrible. I hated getting up. But I did it, you know, and then Gina got a job doing x-ray again,
Mhm.
and in that short time period, I applied for several jobs, you know, power company, telephone company, and
You were at least applying at great places.
oh yeah, no, and I actually got offered a job with another company, and at the same time, the phone company called me, and I'm weighing it, and I ended up taking the job with the phone company, and I've been there 30 years now. So
Wow, I worked for the phone company, as a
You did, yeah, I
Yellow
remember you
Yellow
telling me
Pages
that,
sales,
yeah.
yeah. Great, one of the best jobs I ever had.
yeah,
But then they broke the operating companies up, and
Right.
that all went to heck. And so kiddos start growing up,
right.
and
Yeah, I
what-
was telling my Mallory just the other day. She's was like 2 when I started in the phone company.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow.
And now she has 3 kids.
Yep. And so your kids are named.
Mallory's my oldest. She was born in March of '87, and Alexandra is the younger. She was born in May of 1988.
And how many grandkids?
I have 5 grandkids now.
What are their names?
I have Bryn, Isla, Brielle, JJ, and Beckham.
What is JJ for?
JJ is his dad's name is Jay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they call him Jay. His name-
J-A-Y, you mean?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
interesting. So, life has gone on, and life is life. You meet, I find you, that's another part of your life.
Yeah.
Your marriage is another part of your life. And when you said you had guys, you had
Sure.
some of us that, were there.
Right.
And
I reached out to a lot of when my marriage ultimately
Yeah.
ended
And I think you
to Gina.
came to me more because you knew I was
most definitely.
Well, I was the guy that had the most experience in divorces. So you wanted to deal with somebody
Yeah,
that,
somebody who had a lot of experience.
oh, shoot. So that brings us to all the reunions. They're all different. Everyone is, for me, every one of them is another height.
Sure.
It reaches another height. And then in your life, you met a lady
Yes.
that became the love of your life.
Yes.
And you called me one day and you said, I want to propose to this lady. And I said, hey, go for it. No, you don't understand. You said, I want to propose to her at the reunion. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And we kind of helped you set that up.
Yeah.
You had a lot of guts. You know what? To get up there on that stage and propose to, I'm telling you, buddy, that, you know what? That was a first in my life. I'd never attended anything like that.
Yeah, it was something that was long overdue, that I wanted to do. I wanted to share with my best friends, or some of my best
I'm telling you,
friends.
we had a blast.
And,
That was really a lot of fun. And Scott Mulberg surprised you.
Yeah.
That was all planned.
Well, I asked him to be my covert camera
Yep.
ops man.
Yep.
When I actually, got down on the knee and all that. And he took several great pictures. The chef came out afterwards.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And congratulated. You have to come back every year now. I'm like, well, I'm not sure I can do that, but
Yeah.
we'll make some effort.
Well, that's great. And, kind of coming to the end of the interview, there's a couple of things I want your opinion on. What is your definition of a hero?
I guess I would have to say somebody who may not want to do something. Like, I would say probably all of you guys didn't want to go to Vietnam. But as the men before them had protected our way of life, our country, our freedoms, realized that it's something you may have to do in life. You may be called upon. And I think that for some, it's a very hard thing to do, I'm sure. But if you can do that for the rest of the people,
Mm-hmm.
that you're a hero, regardless of if you come back or not.
That's true.
I see sometimes the hero label being placed on a broad spectrum of people, and I may not, I don't always agree. So
Sure.
I would I'd say my uncle. He was in World War II on
Yes.
the beach at Normandy. He's a hero.
Man, when all of us think back to what those guys did,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
He-
I
he's
can't,
still kicking.
I can't even wrap my head around
Yeah.
it.
No.
Does he ever talk to you about that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, isn't it just amazing how those guys survived
Sitting
that?
in a foxhole in a Hurricane forest in Germany, getting shelled. And
Was that the Battle of the Bulge?
no, I don't think he wasn't in the
Okay.
Battle of the Bulge, but he got hit twice. He still has shrapnel in his wrist.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Would this count, or would this measure up? If a man was in the middle of combat, I mean, the bullets are flying, the mortars are coming in, the rockets have landed, and so forth. If a man was asked or said, we need somebody to go over to the CP and get the medic because our radio, the radio wasn't working, and that man, without hesitation, ran right through the kill zone to go get help for the guys that were wounded, and that man lost his life in the process of doing that. Would that be a hero?
Sure.
You know who that was.
Yeah, I know. You're putting everybody else before yourself.
That was your dad. So, what does the flag mean to you?
this is really a compilation of things, but I still get tears in my eyes if I'm at a baseball game or something where they want you to stand and take off your hat. It's like an oath that it's solemn. I don't know why, but even on TV, I'll sit there and I'll watch it. I'll almost get a tear in my eyes because so many people. You know, I think about all of these heroes, even nowadays. You know, over in the Middle East, doing their job.
And sometimes extraordinary things.
For sure.
Yeah. Does it tick you off when you see the flag disrespected?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah,
Like-
it sickens me.
Like the kneeling,
Burning, any of that.
the kneeling at the national anthem?
Yeah, it's unnecessary. It's just, I think there's other ways to make your case or
Oh,
make
yeah,
your point.
absolutely.
Other than,
And it's almost like that case doesn't fit in the stadium because we're here to watch football, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the way that's the way I always looked
mean,
at it.
I know it's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I'm just that's unacceptable in my opinion.
Is there anything that I have talked about? Have I missed anything that's important in your life that you want on this interview?
Well, I kind of thought a little bit about this when I was driving down, and I've said this to Big John before, but as I get older and the time passes, it bothers me more now that my dad was killed than it did. Like, so as I age, the emotions and the yearn to have known him get stronger. So I get more emotional. And what has saved me is the support system with all you guys, all the Wolfhounds.
Well, it's just like I told you before. We represent him, and you represent him to us. And that's why it's like this. This is why it's just tight.
It is.
Yep.
And I'm very fortunate to have you guys as, because I've had kind of a bumpy road, at times.
Something else interesting, really interesting, happened in your life. You called me, it was just out of the blue, and you said, I think someone is harassing me. I think I'm getting calls from somebody that is harassing me. And immediately I thought, well, hang up on them or whatever. And you go, no, I want you to call them because they're claiming that they're my sister.
Right. No, wait a minute. How did that go down? No. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but the way I remember it,
go for
the
it.
way I remember it, you contacted me.
Oh, because she contacted us off the website.
She contacted you
Correct,
off the
correct.
website and said, I'm Randall Brockway's daughter. If you have any more pics,
Yeah.
recollect that
Yeah,
now?
that's it, yeah.
And then you contacted me, and I said, oh, it's probably some... Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, give me her number, I'll call her. I'll get to the bottom of it.
Sure,
I'm going to be
sure.
judge and jury here, So I called Lori Selassie is her name. And I was like, well, let's talk about it. Where were you born?
Okay.
And I was born in Iowa, and I'm like, uh-oh. If she said California or New York,
Sure.
my dad was never there.
Sure.
Even though he was, so his many wild oats. I don't think he made it that far. So yeah, Iowa, and we talked a little more, and thought about doing like one of those the tests.
Didn't she mention something about her mom? The reason, her
Yes.
mom didn't really talk.
Well, yeah. Well, that was the problem. Even my father did not know that she was his daughter. So in between my mother and father getting divorced back in the 60s, he obviously had some relations with Lori's mother and got drafted into the Army and met my other sister's mother in the interim. And my assumption is Lori's mother found out she was pregnant and never told my father at that time, and so he never knew.
Yeah.
And had gone on to meet my younger sister's mother. They ended up getting pregnant with my younger sister and got married. So this other, Lori's mother, this other woman never said anything. And, Lori was raised up and sought her mother out and found out basically the whole story. And she knew about Christy and I for several years, and we never knew about her. So
Isn't that something?
It's and
How happy was she to actually know that she had a brother?
yeah, no, I mean, I hope she was happy. I think she was. I mean,
She came to the reunion.
she came.
remember
Yeah,
that?
she came to the reunion. When was that? How many years ago? 2, 4, 6, maybe. It was Branson, the last Branson, I think.
That before?
No.
Yeah, two reunions
4.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. And, along with my younger sister and my younger sister's mother. So that was quite an interesting and fulfilling.
Yeah, but you guys just liked each other right off the
No,
bat.
for sure.
That was great.
I mean, I say sometimes I should write a book,
Yeah. But isn't that funny? Because your life just got bigger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, instantly.
Yeah.
And did she kind of laugh when you said, "Well, now I'm going to have to ask you some questions
Yeah,
here"?
yeah. I mean, well, that's kind of. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't rude or anything, but
Yeah.
I'd never heard of her.
And Lori's a great gal.
She is.
She's really funny. And
I called my aunt. I'm like, "Did you know anything about this?"
what'd she say?
No. Figured maybe they were keeping it from me or
and
something.
they used to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, why
And
would
she's
they
like-
ever tell the kid?
Yeah. No, but nobody knew. So
So anyway,
it's been quite an experience.
it's and that's just since being with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is your life after us has expanded,
Yes.
and your knowledge and your feelings and so forth. And you know what? If that's all we've done for you, it's worth every single minute.
Well, it's been worth every single minute for me
Yep.
to be included with you guys and loved by all you guys and your wives
Yep.
and supported.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you again for driving all the way down here. I'm sorry again for I
it's
kind of messed up on Google on that one.
No, it's no big
But,
deal.
and-
I'm not that far.
Yep. And as you know, it's always and forever.
Always.
And I love you, man.
I love you too. Thanks so much.
You are welcome.